The San Francisco 49ers have a lot to prove in the trenches this season, and despite PFF's understandably low ranking, 49ers faithful have a lot to be excited about going into the season, and it in part comes in the name of a young rookie who is about to play an important role in 2024. In this video, we are talking offensive line, what coaches are saying, and how PFF could be sleeping on an underrated rookie. If you're new here, I'm Nate. We are talking San Francisco 49ers every day on this channel, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on all of the action. The good news is this: coaches love Dominick Puni, and there is a lot of reason to believe he's not only making the transition from college to NFL this year, but is going to do so at a high level. Comment below how you think he's going to be playing this season, how well he's going to do, how many games he's going to start. Give me a feel for where you're at on Dominick Puni. I feel like he's probably not starting game 1 of the season, but I believe he will be a starter by the end of the season. I believe that a couple of these individuals, we'll talk about in a few minutes, have a limited amount of time to prove they've made that next step up. And for that reason, 49ers fans, this is a win-win for us. Either the right individuals step up as expected between last season and this season, or Dominick Puni is coming in and we're going to see what this guy is all about. And I have some high hopes for this particular individual. Let me know in the comments what you think about Dominick Puni and what's going to happen for the offensive line this season. Well, as you may have heard, PFF graded the San Francisco 49ers offensive line at 24th. And just to show you real quick kind of where that stacks up, Detroit Lions, again, topping another list. That's kind of scary, I suppose. Philadelphia Eagles, Colts, Browns, Jets. Jets have kind of sneaky been at the top of a lot of lists lately, if you haven't noticed. Atlanta Falcons. Let's see. Chiefs coming in at number 7. Bills, Steelers, Cowboys, Bears, Chargers, Vikings, Packers, Broncos, Rams. There's some names ahead of us on this list. Buccaneers, Dolphins, Raiders, Panthers, Bengals, Texans, Jags, 49ers. While the 49ers offensive line features a future Hall of Famer and arguably the best offensive lineman of the past few years in Trent Williams, those around him have so far failed to impress. The rest of the offensive line consists of either career journeymen such as center Jake Brendel and right guard John Feliciano, or young offensive linemen who the 49ers can hope can improve in 2024, such as Aaron Banks and Colton McKivitz. I have talked before about how I believe that this offensive line will improve. I have a fundamental belief in the trenches. These guys need time to work as a unit. So there is an advantage to all of these individuals showing up for another year to run it back together. There's an advantage from a coaching point of view. There's an advantage from a personnel point of view. They know who's there on their left and on their right, and there's some comfort there. There's technique improvements. A lot of things can be coached at this particular position. That being said, PFF, I'd like to think they know a whole lot more about football than I do, and they would say bottom half of the league. That's not ideal. That's not what San Francisco 49ers want to hear. But there is hope, and not just in Dominick Puni, but there is hope for this offensive line. I'm going to give you some comments from a few individuals that might help you feel a little more positive heading into the season. I'll also even have a little audio clip snipped out for you for us to have some fun. So firstly, let's talk about what John Lynch says about Dominick Puni. From the outset, he's a solid football player, and he's a guy we got out here on a 30, and I think got comfortable with the person and just it's always nice to be around them a little bit more and see them in an environment with their peers and how they interact with our coaches. And there was a good feel there. We liked the tape, liked the versatility, wanted to make him a Niner. Before I go on beyond this, I don't want to undersell this reality. I am a big fan of guys like John Lynch who place high value in interviews, in culture, personality, how they work with other individuals on the team. I am a fan of teams that take this element of the draft process seriously. And Kyle Shanahan, the 49ers organization, has taken this part of the process seriously. When you think about what they've said about Malik Mustafa, what they've said about Ricky Pearsall, a good chunk of what they say comes not just in what they see in the film, not just what they see in the tape, not just what they see in the combine results, but it comes in their interview process and what they learn about the player as they talk about them. You saw that with the Denver Broncos and how Sean Payton drafted, you could argue, like the 8th best quarterback in the draft, but he had his guy that he wanted. Sean Payton, based on the conversations he had with him in private, though the interview time where they talked strategy, it played an important role in choosing him to go forward. And we'll see how good Bo Nix will be in the NFL. There's still a lot to prove there. My point being, I love when general managers, coaches take the time to place high value on the actual interview process and learning about the player and getting to know their personality and seeing if there are any traits that are concerning. I like that. I'm personally a fan. Our belief is that we're going to start him on the inside as a guard. But the cool thing about Dominick is it's not often you can say this about a player, that he can play all 5. And we believe that's the case with him. He snapped in practice. He snapped in the Senior Bowl down in Mobile, played some center in the game, played left tackle in 23, guard in the previous year. He can play all 5. And we've heard this from scouts. We've heard this all over the place. This is not new, and this is not the first time we talked about Dominick Puni. I have a video on this channel just about Dominick Puni, dedicated to this. We believe he has it in him, and that's a really cool thing to have in a player, and he can do it at a high level. So it's part of the reason we moved up to take him there and are really fired up about him. Well, John Lynch was not the only one out there talking about Dominick Puni and talking about philosophically how to approach this season, how to approach the draft when you're looking for individuals for your offensive line. Of course, offensive line coach Chris Foerster had a lot to say about it. Now, he believes highly in his ability to develop players and in general to see offensive linemen be developed into their role. And that's important to note because I think all coaches would probably say that they believe highly in that. But if you look at how the 49ers approached the draft, where most of us thought they were going to select an offensive lineman, probably a tackle, in the first round and probably move up to make it happen, the 49ers did not do that. They did not do it in the second round either. So the 49ers did something that a lot of people could be critical of, and Chris Foerster was not, as I'm sure you remember a few weeks back, not at all critical of the move, said that it was important to go out there and get guys who can actually move the ball up the field with impressive talent, and said that developing offensive linemen makes more sense and drafting guys who can move the ball up the field makes the most sense. So really interesting take. Now, there's a lot of reasons why he might say something about that. Maybe he just says that because that's what you say when you didn't draft an offensive lineman as a first rounder. I mean, does every other coach, every other position coach on the 49ers roster or on the 49ers team for the 49ers organization say the same thing? Only the wide receiver coach gets to be like, yeah, that's we drafted our guy. So in that sense, maybe that's why he did that. That makes perfect sense to me. Maybe that's just what you say when you want job security. You never want to put out the idea that you're not capable of developing the players that you have on the roster. And so for job security purposes, it makes sense to say that. You don't want to put out the idea that the only way you can be successful if you have 5 first rounders on your starting lineup. Or maybe, and this is what I think is true, maybe he believes it. Maybe he believes everything he said. And that's how I take it. Chris Foerster really believes, as he said, if you have a first-round right guard who misses his block, but your first-round draft pick, let's say in this case Ricky Pearsall, takes it to the house, you'll be okay that right guard missed the tackle because you got the talent that scores the touchdown. And I understand that perspective. I do think, in my heart of hearts, that Chris Foerster truly believes The individuals on his roster can have an improved season, and you saw the top list. Kansas City Chiefs come in at number 7. You don't have to be the best offensive line in football in order to win a championship, especially if our defense could have been better at blocking the run or stopping the run. With a 24 ranked offensive line, and mind you, that's going into this season. We have one big change, which is we added Dominick Puni. So, wow. Well, talking about Dominick Puni, what did Chris Foerster have to say specifically about Dominick Puni? You're going to like it. Listen here.
But he's built to be a guard. Now, does that not mean he won't be our fourth tackle possibly, the way the roster shakes out? Could he be our starting right guard or left? I mean, he could be a swing guard. The only thing I'm not sure I'm going to rep him at a center, but he's going to be able to play left guard, left tackle, right guard, right tackle. We're primarily working him at right guard right now. That's a place we felt we could get some competition going and work at that spot, but he easily could be the fourth tackle, third. I mean, he could work in anywhere there. He's got ability to play all. He's best suited to guard, though. He could end up, you never know what happens. Hopefully, we'll see how it plays out.
Crazy. He can play everywhere. You heard it again. Chris Foerster maybe not so sure about the center position, which is interesting. I've heard other takes that he could play at the center position in a pinch, but it is interesting for sure. Chris Foerster obviously was a center. A different situation there, I suppose, maybe sees that position differently than other analysts, which makes sense. He's the coach. That's his job. But love to see him say you can see him play anywhere on that offensive line. That's why you draft a guy like that, because of the flexibility he gives you. Now, a lot of people are wondering how he'll transition, playing from left guard, left tackle, moving to the right side. But in his career, he has played in all 4 positions: left guard, left tackle, right guard, right tackle. So it'll be really interesting to see how things shake up. I feel the vibes I'm getting from the coaches are they really like his versatility, his ability to go out there and potentially play at a lot and challenge at a lot of different positions, but specifically right now this season at right guard, which will be some work. He'll have to work for it, but it puts a lot of pressure. It puts a nice competition battle. It'll make training camp very interesting going into the season. And what do you have to lose, 49ers? I understand it would have been nice to go out there and get a first-round draft pick, offensive, like right tackle or something. I get that for sure. And in a perfect world, I'm sure you'd like to upgrade many positions in the first round of the draft. But with what we have looking forward at this season, we have an incredible offense. And so you can get away limping a little bit with your offensive line if you have a quarterback that can make quick decisions and process fast, like everybody says Brock Purdy does. Incredible processing speed. So I think you can get away a little bit with some of those weaknesses. But if Dominick Puni can come in and either push that line to continue to develop and get better, or perhaps even make the line better, then I think it's a win for us. 49ers, as always, faithful. What a time to be alive.